Welcome to Flesh and Pod, a flesh and blood podcast, breaking down weekly news and notes from the tournament scene, community drama, game strategy, and more. And now, here are your hosts, Darick and Logan.
Hello, and welcome to episode 112 of Flesh and Pod. My name is Logan. I am your host. I know, in a fucking row. And with me, as always, is online serial murderer, not like in real life, just in online life, Darick Oswald. And with us as well, fresh off the plane from the Celebrational, gay icon and Calling Queenstown champion, Mara Faris. Mara, what was that like?
Only one of those two things is true.
Well, you obviously won the calling because you had that giant advantage of having seen the cards ahead of time. There's no way you didn't close with that epic advantage.
Yeah, no, I went 2-2 drop in the calling.
How is that possible? I get so Brody won it, right?
Brody did win the battle hardened. Does that count?
No.
Oh, then no. Brody definitely did.
Was it Kelvin or Saint?
It was probably Saint.
It was not. No one. That was at the Celebrational. I think even top 8 in.
Yeah, no.
The calling.
None of us. We were all very tired.
Yeah, y'all were fucking doing shit the entire time.
Dude, the funniest thing about that was, like, I got real salty on Twitter because, like,
really,
yeah, I know, shocking. I'm usually such a beacon of composure. But yeah, no, like, literally, like, the people were having this discussion. In the middle of this discussion, we were at a fucking sheep shearing. They're like, they're probably at home fucking scouring necklace, and I'm sitting here just like watching a goddamn dude. If you want an assassination, DM Armada, you have to go check this. DM Armada posted a short on his YouTube channel of him like going around and like we're on this fucking farm and he's like chasing after ducks, going ducks, what's the best first pick in heavy hitters meta? And he's like filming these goddamn ducks and the ducks are just like terrified and running, and then he like cuts to him, like we're like sitting with Josh Scott and he's like, Josh Scott, tell us the insight, which hero is the best in heavy hitters draft, and Josh just looks panicked and goes sheep. And then it just cuts back to the sheep shearing. Fucking funniest shit I have ever seen.
So the reason the answer was sheep is because this was actually all a psyop. And we know that the real secret information was hidden on the sheep themselves. That's why there was the shearing, right? So the secrets that LSS didn't want the common folk to know, that was all painted on the side of the sheep, right? And then when Flake, for example, is in that video and he's shearing the sheep, but it's faced away from the camera, that's to hide the secrets. I heard the next Celebrational is going to take place at the Bohemian Grove and that things are going to be extra spicy at that one.
So, yeah, it's true. However, you can only be invited if you're a Freemason.
Oh, I have good news.
Sick. I got this.
Nice.
I have great news.
I'm both a stonecutter and a Freemason.
Oh shit! So yeah. Is that why you rule this country?
I'm just a trespasser, so I don't need to be invited. That was my great news.
That was my
sure. Yeah, there's that too. But so we had the celebration. I'm not gonna asking about Flesh and Blood this week. I played some games, whatever. I've been working on trying to figure out these goddamn decks and everything that's happening and blah 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 bullshit.
Do you know what I did in Flesh and Blood this week? I watched a sheep get sheared.
Okay, well, at least I wasn't watching Flake get sheared.
Yeah, that would have been better.
That kind of would have been better, yeah. But I'm surprised that Charmer didn't make but because LSS was trying to pull the wool all over our eyes joke that was right there for the sheep shearing. I'm sort of disappointed in him, but also relieved that he didn't.
But then you made it, so we can all be disappointed.
Oh, I just spoke about it.
No, you kind of
make the joke. I didn't make that joke. I really didn't.
Yeah.
But
so
let's talk about this. Fuck off. Let's talk about the celebration. I'm throwing shit at my camera. I'm throwing shit at my camera because you're fucking pissing me off already. And I don't wait. The booze is over there. I'm good. I can grab the scotch. We'll be fine.
Wait, I want to see if we can get you to break your camera. Hang on.
No, please don't. Like, it is a $700 camera. Please don't.
Ooh.
I don't want to have to do this.
Okay.
yeah, Charmer fucked me because he was like, oh, it's easy. All you need to have your video look good is get a DSLR. And I'm like, oh, is that it? And so I did.
Oh. And then you
Yeah.
you invite me on with my piece of shit
so
like Logitech, whatever the fuck this thing
No,
is.
this looks way better than my old webcam did by far. Is $700 better? Probably not. But did I just go, I am way too lazy to return this? Yep, I sure did.
Yeah, that checks out.
Now here it is. Any rate, so Celebrational, because Charmer was very insistent that we discuss this with you.
I don't fucking know why. I slept through half of it.
I can tell you why. All right.
I hope so.
There's a lot that I need to cover here. First, I need Flake when he does his next Patreon whatever thing to make sure he includes the clip where Logan says Charmer fucked me and then just cut that part so it's out of context, because that's all you need. That's actually all of the context. But also
that's not shocking though.
I would say it more lovingly.
But I just
that's really
I need him to spread the gospel.
And me.
I also wanted to have this discussion because we were asked as a listener question about things that, LSS should do for events. And I said, the 5-year anniversary is coming up and it would be really cool if they did some sort of like big homecoming style event where they just featured something in New Zealand. And like I talked about it at length and then they went and they did it. So I'm also just going to indirectly take full credit for your amazing experience. And that's why I wanted to have you on, because I know that unlike Flake or Steven or some of those other people, you have the fortitude to tell me how right I am. I know that you are capable of it more so than anybody else. If there's one thing Mara is good at, it's telling people that they are right. And thank you.
Yeah, I'm already tipping a bottle of scotch
for the people who are only listening, allow me to describe Mara's voice. Imagine Beelzebub had a baby with Baphomet, and then that child was angry. Just kidding. Mara always looks amazing. I would never slut shame her or anything else. Wow, sorry, that was another Twitter thing. Look, I have been, real talk for a moment, I have been off my meds for weeks now. I am not in a good place. And so this is what happens when I am not medically induced to mental stability.
I'm going to go ahead and rename the episode Talk Therapy right now. And there we go. Because now that I named it Talk Therapy, Charmer will do everything in his power to win this episode. Because now it's therapy.
You don't want that.
Are you sure, buddy?
No, I kind of do.
This is really rapidly turning into like when we have Flake on the show. But right. Which means the show notes, I might as well just delete them. It doesn't fucking matter.
The whole reason that I wanted...
Her name's Mara.
So I had to pause. There are some things that I still need to filter. All right. So the whole reason that I wanted Mara on is so we didn't have to talk about my stuff. And also because she got to do amazing once in a lifetime things and getting the first person account from somebody like her is fantastic. And also to avoid me talking as much as possible, because then we get into these situations.
I love these
situations. So Mara, how was Hobbit Town?
All right, so I did get to do some cool stuff. New Zealand was pretty awesome, I'm not gonna lie. I am kind of sad I didn't get to go to Hobbit Town. We were only in Auckland for like a day and a half, and I thought we were gonna have more time in Auckland, and so I ended up not doing the Weta workshop tour thing, which was kind of sad because I really did want to go that, and I should have fucking stayed at least a day or two longer, and I didn't because I'm a dumbass. Because I thought, at the end of a week I'm gonna be very tired, which I was, but like, still should have stayed longer. Definitely the play mistake of this week was only staying a week and not staying at least a little bit longer and doing more stuff. But that said, we did a lot of stuff. They definitely had us just running. Like, we had big events and surprises and tours and all kinds of wild shit. Like, there was a time, I think it was Thursday afternoon, and we have had literally like play cards for 7 hours, go to a big event, like touristy thing, go to a big dinner, and then like every dinner has had like a show or an extra like thing attached to it, like every day for the last like week solid. And I come to Thursday and we finish playing cards and they're like, we're going bungee jumping, and I was like, I'm gonna go sleep. And I think that is the first time in my life that I've been given the option of bungee jumping or sleep, and chose sleep. And I think that pretty much sums up the experience. We did so much stuff, and it was freaking unreal cool. But it was exhausting. Like, I thought, like, I think I'm kind of glad that we got the spoiler like a couple of days early, because I literally I got like an hour to look through the spoiler the day we got them. I went back to my hotel and just like thumbed through it for about an hour. And that was the last time I looked at heavy hitters until an hour before my heavy hitters constructed deck was due. So,
Oh.
Yeah.
So that may have impacted your performance? Is that
where
you're going with this?
I think it's probably safe to assume. I can tell you that Brody definitely skipped one of our dinners to playtest heavy hitters because
they weren't serving ham sandwiches.
That's actually true. But yeah, no, they filled us with a bunch of events, which is very cool but very tiring. But yeah, like the whole event was pretty amazing. Yeah, we got to see some sheep shearing. I got to go to a hot spring, which was so well needed. Yeah, hot spring is pretty nice. It was gorgeous. It's like up on like the mountaintop too. So we just like you kind of walk into this area, and there's like the spring, and then it is just like open, and you're like, oh man, I could walk 30 feet and die. It'd be like
I could do that here though.
Yeah, but like it'd be pretty while you died. You could just like walk off the side of a mountain.
This is walk off the side of my house.
So. Yeah, like I mean, like come on, you're gonna walk off the side of your house, and everyone's just like, meh. Like
yeah, no one will care.
Yeah, no one cares. But like you walk off the side of a mountain in New Zealand, preem. Also, it's summer there. Let's not discount the fact that last week in America, how was the weather this week? Do tell.
Okay.
So I didn't pack a jacket.
It
was nice.
Wait till you get to Hartford.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, you'll experience it. You'll be in it because Hartford's not going to be warm.
God, you're not gonna make me look at the fucking weather in Hartford.
You know, if you really want to see what the weather was like, I've got a spoiler video that you can watch.
I did watch that. That was so it was nice because it was like 20 degrees here and 20 degrees in New Zealand.
The one is Celsius.
Yeah. It was nice.
Jesus Christ.
I wore shorts the whole weekend, just shorts and tank tops the whole weekend.
So let's talk about the event itself a little bit. It looked like it was a blast.
It was.
Like the actual card playing event, right? And because the janky formats, the weird, like switching back and forth, and then you're playing like in what, like the hall was like on a mountain?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was fucking wild. We took a gondola to our tournament.
Okay.
I think I put a post on Twitter that was just like a picture from the gondola. I was like, this sure as hell beats an Uber.
Yeah. Jet boat into a gondola into an event hall. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so like
the jet boat, by the way, they didn't tell us about. We got off the airplane.
Awesome.
We got off the airplane when we landed in Queenstown, and they're like, all right, we're gonna boat over to the hotel. My fucking dumbass was just like, oh, okay, cool. It's just like a ferry. Nah, bitch. They were like, all right, leave all your stuff here, and your stuff's gonna be taken. Like the bus is gonna take all your stuff over. I'm like, wait, why is the bus taking our stuff? We can just take our stuff on the boat. And they're like, nah. And we just like walked down the path. Like they told us nothing. We just walked down this path, and there's a bunch of booze laid out for us, and there's a boat. And it's not like a friendly tug steamboat. It's a boat. And I'm like, is that the boat we're taking? And they're like, yeah.
Yeah, Darick and I know a thing or two about boats and bird law.
Yeah.
And booze.
And booze.
Yeah.
Oh, I know a thing or two.
So, yeah, the boat was fucking wild. That boat went real fast. And our driver apparently had a death wish. So
all speedboat drivers
yeah.
or jet boat drivers have a death wish.
Yeah. No, there was definitely a couple of times where I was like, I don't think this boat's gonna fit through there. And then our driver's like, probably will.
Hey, what's the worst that can happen?
You guys are insured, right?
Well, you're in New Zealand. Yeah. Everybody's insured.
Oh yeah, sure, right. Yeah, it's even better. So if we died, it'd be cool. They just like pay for whatever.
Shit. Yeah. I mean, until your remains are back on U.S. soil, then you got to pay somebody. That's how it works over here.
Yeah.
But yeah,
good.
Are you sure?
Sure.
Okay, great. Because
anyway,
you motherfucker.
God, I missed this show.
So did everybody else. That's why I'm getting episoded for the last fucking 2 days.
Where is the episode, by the way? What the hell?
We're recording it, dipshit.
I'm just saying I haven't seen the episode yet.
You're right, you haven't.
It's not even live yet. Where is it?
It's happening now. What's happening now is happening now.
Wait, when?
That's what happened to then.
You have to understand, she's been like to the future and then back to the past and back and forth. So for her, this is a legitimate question.
So when will then be now?
Soon. But with like the formats, the heavy hitters like block constructed is something that I've talked about like on the show before, like that being a real format where either by set or by like era or whatever that you have restrictions based on sets, not based on a band list or whatever. And I was really curious. It looked like maybe it was because of how coverage was shown, trying to get everybody on camera, yada, yada. It looked a little homogenous, which I didn't really love. But was it that way?
Maybe a little. I think some of that also has to do with the fact that we didn't get a whole lot of time to prep.
Sure.
I think a lot of us very much just fell back on very like level 1 kind of decks. Like, look at a hero. What does that hero do? Build the thing that hero looks like it's able to do. And I think you saw a lot of that. Like, I played very stock standard. Like, I want to just send overpowered wager attacks on Betsy. The KO decks were just like, I'm just gonna play KO with a bunch of 6s and just throw number at you. The warrior decks where I have swords, I make swords go vroom, and like, so I don't think we got a lot of time to really deep dive into the format, and I think that had a lot of impact on the decks that we kind of saw in the heavy hitters constructed. I do think it's a very interesting format though, and I'm kind of excited to see more of that, and I hope they do more of that, because it kind of does make you really reevaluate a lot of things. And like, I think like one really good example from heavy hitters is Kasai. I think we didn't really see any of the Kasai decks do like especially well. And I don't think that's because Kasai is bad. Like, quite the contrary. I actually think Kasai might be the most powerful hero in heavy hitters, but I think Kasai is a hero that needs very specific ratios. I think she needs a certain amount of yellows. She needs a certain amount of go again. She needs a certain amount of like her weapon buffs. She needs a certain amount of payoffs for the gold. And like, trying to get all of those little ratios just right, I think is going to be very difficult. And
can confirm.
It was something that I think, we had, like I say, like I literally had about an hour to just skim the set when I first got it, and then about an hour to build my deck when we got back from dinner at like 11:30 at night the day before we had to play heavy hitters. I had to just throw my deck together. So like, I looked at Kasai and I was like, man, I'd really like to sit down and work out the numbers on Kasai. I don't have the time for that. And so I fell back on something that felt more simple and more stable. And I think a lot of people kind of did the same. And so I think if we had a little bit more time to kind of deep dive on the format, I think you might see a little bit more innovation. And I think there's definitely more innovation to be had in that format. So like, I definitely hope that this is something that LSS explores further in the future and that they keep doing. I think it's good for the game to have these little side formats where your meta is not like rigidly tested and with massive amounts of data and information. Having these kind of little formats of like, all right, go figure shit out and go play a game, I think is really good for Flesh and Blood as a whole.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's kind of why I like the idea of what I would like. I call it block because that's what it was in Magic, and I don't know what to call it. I just call it. That's what I call
it. They're calling it solo constructed, but yeah, it's
sure,
it's block constructed. Like, let's be real.
Right, and so I would like to point out that while Charmer basically created the Celebrational out of thin air on his own, that I have now predicted both Team Sealed in Flesh and Blood. That was episode 1 of this podcast, by the way. And then also predicted Block Constructed in Flesh and Blood. So pretty soon, and also gambling in Flesh and Blood. That was also something that I was very excited about.
That's true.
And now when we're going to be playing poker with your entry fee to the tournament being an alpha pack, that's where shit's going to get real.
Is that the next thing?
Yeah, we're going to play poker tournament, buy in 1 alpha pack. You get 1 rebuy, which means you can go and enter and get back into the tournament if you get bounced out with another alpha pack, and then that's it. And as many people want to enter, we'll condense down. We'll run it like a poker tournament, and Charmer will get to collect a bunch of alpha packs because he's the luckiest son of a bitch I've ever seen at a fucking poker table.
It's not luck, okay? It's a finely honed skill to just get the best hand in the game on a whim.
Roughly twice. I mean, the second best and the best.
Yeah, I did hear that you got a Mara Flash.
Yeah. My hand was capable of playing Tome of the Imperial Flame.
That's pretty sick.
It was indeed royal. But so with the Celebrational event, do you see them doing something like this again?
Yeah, 100%, absolutely. I definitely got obviously LSS can't make any official announcements, but the way they talked about the event, the way that they kind of presented everything, this definitely feels like a thing that they at the very least want to do regularly. And I hope they do. This is an unreal cool event, and I really hope that this is either an annual thing or at least every couple of years.
Well, I mean, it only took us 107 weeks to get a spoiler, so maybe at episode 519 we would have a shot.
Yeah, I could see that.
I
will never be allowed to go to New Zealand because I would never leave.
I'm not gonna lie. I barely left. It was rough. There was some very real consideration to just I could just their security here's bad. I could just leave.
It's lax. No one really cares.
Yeah. In the late aughts, early teens, I actively was trying to move to New Zealand because they were doing a bunch of tech recruiting at the time. Mm-hmm. And I stopped pursuing it. I stopped doing that largely because my wife kept saying I don't feel comfortable moving outside the state, let alone outside the country. I don't know how we'd survive without my family. She just has a lot of apprehension. And now that I've gotten her outside of the country, she's like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go. And I'm like, okay, well, we're going to start that.
Would have been nice over a decade ago.
Right. Yeah. Well, and it's not even that. Part of the reason I was doing it back then is I wanted to do it before we had kids and roots and whatever, all that, because it just makes it more difficult. But
roots, bloody roots. Any Sepultura fans up in here? Okay. But let's move on a little bit. We now have seen all of Heavy Hitters. Whole thing.
Yep. And now everyone is advantaged in Calling Hartford.
Yeah, the Calling Hartford is now a level playing field. And
no, it's not level. Complain. It's just everyone has an advantage now.
Wait.
Everyone gets +1 IP.
Yeah, that's how it works. It's like nepotism, but everyone has it. I don't know what you call that.
So we're just all Nepo babies now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's great. I always wanted to be one of those. But we're going to go over what our top cards are. It's really I don't want to do a card for card recap of this fucking thing. Just not something I'm into. But let's just do a rundown of, like our 5 favorite cards. Mara, we're going to start with you because you're the guest, and that's what I want to do.
And because Charmer didn't do his homework and needs to frantically write something down.
Charmer did his homework, I guarantee it.
What?
Right.
He is the goodest of boys.
Aww.
No, there's no way I did my homework.
Yeah, my dog ate mine.
You don't have a dog.
I know. I wish I did. I have 3 cats.
Yeah.
It's basically like 1 dog.
if you like stack them on top of each other or something, I don't know. So let's go through what you've got, Mara. What are your top 5?
All right, so top 5. First of all, honorable mention to any card that has the word agility token on it. I think lead for speed, take it on the chin, the
Blood Run Goblet or Goblet of Blood Run.
Yeah, like any of those cards, like agility tokens in general just feel like they have revolutionized like both warrior and brute. The ability for both of those classes to get just very clean, very consistent go again, I think is incredibly powerful. So like no particular card from that subset made my list. But like I think just like the agility token creators as a whole, like all just kind of get my honorable mention tag, because that's just super powerful and will definitely see some major impact for both of those classes. That said, my top 5, number 5 is probably Commanding Performance. Commanding Performance is a 1 for 3 warrior action. Or it's a 1 for your next warrior attack. It's +3, and says if they block with an attack action this turn, blow up their arsenal. It's like backwards CNC, and having had that card played against me, it is so oppressive. That card is just like the exact opposite of CNC, where you're just like, would you like to block? Fuck you. Like that card feels so strong to me. And is super, super disruptive against the decks that want to block a lot, which historically do pretty well into Warrior. Right. Like, Warrior does not have problems with decks that don't want to block.
No.
So like you don't want to block, here's my Dawnblade for 7. Good job. You did it. Congratulations, Merry Christmas. But like the decks that are like, oh, I'm gonna block you forever, you're just like, neat. I'd like you to please destroy your arsenal. I think that card is very powerful. I think also my number 4 is probably Raise an Army. I mean, shocking. Mara likes the card that makes allies, but I do think that card feels very strong and potentially very oppressive. I can tell you just how strong allies as a whole are, and the potential, like, so Tome of Imperial Flame we talked about being an incredibly powerful card in Dromai, and part of what makes Tome powerful is the ability to just vomit multiple allies in play at once. And all of those allies tend to have Phantasm and have other drawbacks. Raise an Army is just like, here's a bunch of 3/2s, deal with this now, fuck off and die.
They have a drawback. There's one drawback.
They have a drawback like Dromai needs to play a red to give hers go again. Like,
okay, same thing.
It's about the same drawback. I think Raise an Army is an incredibly powerful card, and I think I am very excited to see the Kasai deck come together. I think this is the first time I've ever been actively kind of excited about a warrior. I've never historically been much of a fan of the warrior class, and this is the first time that I'm like very interested. And that kind of segues into the other class that I have historically never been excited about, and that is Brute. I think KO totally changes the way that I look at Brute, and is the first time I think I've ever actually been very interested in the Brute class. And a big part of that is my number 3, which is No Fear. No Fear says it's an instant for 0 that says banish any number of 6 power attacks from your hand. Prevent 2 + X damage, where X is the amount of cards that you've banished. And then at the end of the turn, return all those cards to your hand. No Fear is like everything that I ever want in a card. No Fear says, come at me, I'm going to toss my hand, get this prevention shield, And you better be able to punch through that and still do some damage, because next turn I'm going to hit you real fucking hard. I think No Fear is a very well-designed card, but also an incredibly powerful one. It feels a lot like Flicker Trick from the Dromai side, where it is the kind of D-React you want in a deck that doesn't want to be playing D-Reacts. Like, I just want to have that kind of card that can just stuff your CNC with one card, and then move on to go back about killing you. No Fear, I think, is super awesome, super exciting, and I think if there's a world where I pick up Brute, it's probably because of that card. Number 2 is probably the obvious one that everyone saw coming, and that is Luminaris Angel's Glow.
Fuck that card.
That card is cracked as shit. Like, holy shit, that card is cracked. Prism's a real deck now, guys. We did it. Problem solved.
Is that what you're playing now? Are you moving on from Dromai?
Moving on, no, but I've got a Prism deck together. That's for damn sure. We here. You know what I got here? This is my commitment.
Oh yeah, your gold foil footsteps.
Yeah, I got these motherfuckers graded this weekend because
what'd you get? Okay,
it's respect. It's fine.
I mean, it was okay.
Also, by the way, if anyone has not seen the fucking PCG player slabs, these things are like super awesome. I love these so much. These are like my new favorite
slab
things. Yeah.
So I saw somebody that fab slabbed one of the Marvel heroes, and I'm like, that's the dumbest fucking use of a fab slab ever, because that label's now over the top of some of the art. And
they do it over the side with the text, the side that no one cares about.
Yeah, I mean,
it is kind of no. But like, I mean, like, you only won on the one side ever, so it's pretty much fine.
Sure.
I also got these graded this weekend. Bam.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Bam.
9.5 on that. That's not bad.
Yeah,
okay,
I'll take them.
This is terrible fucking radio, by the way.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Right. That is my gold foil footsteps. My gold silken form.
We've never been known for being good radio. You're fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I just wanted to call
then I'm not gonna tell you about the last one. It's a mystery. Go watch it on YouTube. Like and subscribe, bitches.
Fair.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that.
Yeah. So yeah, Luminaris Angel's Glow. Totally changes the way Prism plays.
Still fuck that card.
Yeah.
Just still.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally changes the way Prism plays. Like, completely rebuilds that entire deck from scratch, and I'm super here for it. I feel very bad for all the people that like put a shit ton of work. Like, shout out to like Rhea, who like put in a lot of work, really brewing on the old Prism and trying to find the way that deck functions, and found a line to make that deck playable, and now we just start all over. And
yeah,
I'm pretty here for it. I think New Luminaris is definitely going to catapult Prism back into where we all kind of expected New Prism to be when she was first released. So yeah, card's easily my number 2 slot.
But what's number 1 then?
My number 1 slot feels to me like by far the most powerful card in this set, and weirdly it's the one that I feel like nobody is talking about, and that is Balance of Power. That card is cracked, y'all. I don't...
Balance of Power?
Interesting.
I don't know what else to say. Are you looking the fucking thing up?
I have to. I don't know what you're talking about.
Go look that card up.
Balance of Power.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Balance of Justice. My bad. Fuck. Sorry.
No, that card is fucking cracked.
Balance
that one I know.
My bad. Balance of Justice. I don't know.
That thing is busted in half.
Yeah. Card is absolutely insane. Balance of Justice is a headpiece that blocks for 2 once, and then says, destroy this, draw a card if your opponent's drawn 2 or more cards this turn. Totally makes, like the fact that people are just like, I feel like everyone just sort of came out, the card came out and everyone's like, yep, that's pretty good. It'll be a neat sideboard tech in some decks. I made a list, y'all, of the heroes that can trigger this thing reliably, because I was just curious. I was like, I just want to see how many different like ways you can trigger this.
It's about to be a lot more. Go ahead and do your list, because Logan and I have talked about this, but do your list, and then I want to point out something if it doesn't pop up on your list, just out of curiosity.
Man, I'm going to go pull this fucking list up. Let me go.
Because Balance of Justice is number 2 on my top 5, like I'll just come out and give the spoiler. It's number 2 on mine for I'm sure a lot of the reasons you're about to talk about, and I already gushed over this the last time. But
all right, here was my list of ways you can trigger it. Herald of Erudition, Shariah, Archangel of Erudition, 3 of a Kind, Tome of Firebrand, Potion of Luck, Steelblade Supremacy, Tome of Divinity, Tome of Fjendal, Sift, Hope Merchant's Hood, Cash In, Tome of Imperial Flame, Whirling Mist Blossom, Tome of Harvest, Spring Tidings, Blood Rush Bellow, Tome of Aetherwind, Force of Nature, Berserk, Phoenix Form, Blood Dripping Frenzy, Art of War, Rushing River, Mask of Momentum plus any draw out of Ninja, multiple gold tokens out of Kasai, multiple draw discard effects in a single turn from Brute, Genesis plus Halo out of Prism, Crown of Seeds plus Sync Blow on your own fucking turn. Fuck you, Crown of Seeds. Any card draw plus an Enlightened Strike, High Octane plus Spark of Genius. Also, randomly, if your opponent plays a Sync Blow on your turn, you can Disrounds on me or Coax a Commotion to trigger it on your own fucking turn.
So
if you're bored, yeah.
I heard a bunch of the tomes in there, but the one that I wanted to point out, well, technically it's a 2-parter here, but I think the big reason that this is much better than it looks, and the real reason why I think we're going to see a stronger emphasis on this over some of the other headpieces, is Cash-In and gold.
Yep, I think I did. I did have Cash-In on my list.
Yeah. No, you had them, but what I'm getting at though is that I think a lot of the people were thinking about it as a tech card because they were thinking about some of those hero or class specific ones, like a 3 of a Kind or a Tome of Imperial Flame, where they're like, okay, I would sideboard this in against Dromai or against a Wide Ranger or whatever. But Cash-In and the gold tokens are going to cover a lot of heroes after this set, right? Like this set in and of itself is introducing a large number of heroes to the pool that will potentially just want to trigger this. Like Olympia, for example, I know that there's been a lot of talk about in the future he's going to get more gold payoffs. I've been listening to dev interviews and whatever because I've been curious about him because he looks really interesting to me. But it just feels like there's a missing piece, and some dev interviews kind of confirmed something is coming in the future, but it's not in this set. But even without that, you still have Cash-In, and you still have those turns where you can potentially, right? Like if you've got too many blues, just cycle through your gold tokens till you find better stuff and net yourself a resource along the way, right? Like you can use those gold tokens to filter bad hands, but also Cash-In is a hell of a card.
That's true.
And it's going to be a good card for Olympia, probably new Kasai. I could see myself running it in Betsy even. There's a bunch of options for that card, and then there's all the existing ones that might want to already use it and get more gas out of this. So I think Balance of Justice is very, very good because it, on paper, I think the biggest issue is when you're comparing it to the other kind of generic headpieces, you've got the crown, right? The other crown. And a lot of people are like, okay, well, it's the guaranteed 2-block and then likely the hand fixing part. And then you've also got the skull cap, which is, sometimes you still want to run that because you like the extra health, right? The extra block, the extra break points, etc. This is like the best of both worlds because it can fix your hand when you need to defensively prepare for go wide turns. Mm-hmm. And you can also still get the block value out of it and get the activation for later. Like the fact that it's also kind of shred proof is really interesting. As somebody who plays Assassin, I'm like not really excited about that part, but it is really interesting. And I'm now kind of scared of what other stuff might get printed with the word Guardwell on it. Mm-hmm. But
do you want to explain that interaction, by the way, to people that may not understand how that works? Because that is actually, I think, a very interesting interaction.
Yeah, so Guardwell's text says, when the combat chain closes, if this defended, you put a -1 counter on this equal to its defense value. So if you block with Balance of Justice and anything reduces its defense value while it's on the chain, so like Shred, for example, and I think there's a couple of other effects that do it as well, and if not, there will be in the future, I'm sure. But basically, like if you block with Balance of Justice and then your opponent is just sitting on a blue shred or whatever and they shred that, well, the damage still gets through, right? Like the shred still removes the defense. So whatever hit you wanted to hit, that part still happens. But when the chain closes, because Balance of Justice's defense is 0, you then put 0 -1 counters on it because that was the defense value. And so when the turn resets, you can just block again with it, right? Like you're always guaranteed to get that 2 out of it. I just think that that's really interesting and has a lot of potential going forward. Because like I said, even if it's only shred now, like we'll get other effects like that in the future, I'm sure. Yeah, I really like the card. The other thing that I don't think is talked about enough is I've played against some opponents. I'm not saying this happens often. This is a niche use, but I've played against some opponents where like they go to have a pop-off turn, but they don't have the setup 100%. It's what I would call like a blind pop-off. So like think about where somebody's looking at their hand and they're like, all right, I got Blood Rush, and if I hit something, I'm fine, but sometimes they just don't hit something. You could still pop Balance of Justice for the draw, and then if you don't end up blocking, you just go into your next turn with more gas yourself. Yeah. Like you can use this and still not use it defensively. You can just be like, all right, I'm going to take a bunch, but I'm going to do just as much to you next turn.
Oh, I would argue that's
also
absolutely the better use of it, is to not use this to block with. I mean, obviously you're blocking with the actual block value, but like not using this to play defensively on their big turn, but like as a crackback. Like making the crackback to like even out these big pop-off turns is terrifying, especially for decks that are very reliant on these pop-off turns. I think any hero now that has a big pop-off turn, you're looking at these decks like Brute with Blood Rush, or with Fi with Art of War, or if Lexi were still in the meta with Three Oak, you now have to really say, is this pop-off turn strong enough if my opponent just gets a free card? I think that is suddenly dramatically changing the landscape of these decks that want to play a big explosive turn, because that's a much bigger ask. Playing that Art of War turn, knowing my opponent's about to get a 6-card hand to crack back at me after my Art of War turn, suddenly makes that feel a lot less exciting. And I think it's going to have significant, I think Balance of Justice on its own is going to have significant impacts on our meta.
Yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't. Let's put it that way. There's nothing to not like about that card. The only reason I didn't even put it in my 5 was because we'd already talked about it, and I knew that somebody else was going to bring it up. Sure. So I just left it out.
Yeah, I was for sure going to bring it up again.
Yeah,
I also, it made me realize what I really wanted, and this is going to sound dumb because it's like, it's so bad, why would you ever print it? But the more I kept thinking about Balance of Justice, I was like, man, I really wish that there was a card that was like, it's just a 0-cost instant that says both players draw a card. So like on your end, it just replaces itself, and on your opponent's end, it potentially gives them a bonus, or it just, like if they empty their hand and then you play it at the end of the turn to cycle through your deck, they get to draw a card and then they have a choice of arsenal or not or whatever. But I was thinking, like, how cool would that be as like a meta play where if your opponent like hits you with a snatch, or they play something where they only draw 1 card, and then you're like, oh, all right, well, now that you're out of action points, here, draw another one, and I'll pop my helm, and then I'll go into my next turn, blah, blah, blah. Like, just
I did have, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the presence of this card, both from the Guardwell and the activation, opens up a lot of like new design territory, and that's the reason that it was so high on my list.
I did have an interesting interaction with it yesterday, I believe. I've been trying to just I've been working my ass off trying to figure out Kasai, right? And so I wound up in a mirror, and they played their Gorganian Tome with mine in the bin, drew 2, I blew my balance and drew. I'm like, thanks.
Yeah.
It was fun. But
yeah.
There's so many like little things, and it's only going to expand, right? Like the amount of things that matter with that text is just going to keep going up.
Yeah.
So the card is currently probably at its floor, and that's kind of scary. Like that's already kind of frightening. Charmer, man, you're up.
All right. So we already know what my number 2 is, but we'll go through anyway. 5. I will also say that I tried, didn't get all the way through the list, but I tried to pick things that were not necessarily class specific, because then it can kind of highlight a lot of things to be excited about from this set, because I think after Bright Lights, everyone is kind of tunnel visioning and being like, well, if this set doesn't have the classes I play, then it probably doesn't have anything for me. But this still has a lot of stuff that is just, I think, generically good across the board in a number of ways. So 5 for me was Standing Order. I think that this card is potentially very powerful in a number of decks, and the floor of it is also like high enough that even when it's not like super good, it's still considerable, right? So just a 0 for 4, blocks for 3 is not terrible. It's a solid like 1 card hand if you're trying to play defensive. The fact that you can also then potentially turn this into a popper is great. Or sometimes if you need a get out of jail free card for your arsenal, right? Standing Order can help you a ton there. But there's also cards that, well, before I move on from that, if you're looking for like an example, I'm coming from a place where, I've played a lot of Guardian. So I think about the times where you have heaved a card, and then if it's not played next turn, it's just stuck there, right? Like if you put a Pulverize in and then they come in with something disruptive and now you didn't get to play your heaved Pulverize, it's just stuck there, and it being face up used to be like extra bad as well. And Standing Order doesn't care if your card is face up or not. And that's a pretty big deal when you're talking about heave and other things that might get stuck there. As somebody who plays a lot of Assassin, one of the pitfalls that you run into is like sometimes you want to arsenal a shred, but then it's stuck there for forever. This gives you a get out of jail free because, again, you can just use the activation to chip it. But the other reason I really like it is I was thinking about like heroes that want to make the use of it. So it's great for Emperor, right? It's a red, and it does things Emperor likes, but it's also really good in like Riptide, because the card in your arsenal is a lot less of a punishment, right? A lot of times when you're thinking about the cards you want to arsenal as a hero, you're usually putting stuff in your arsenal with purpose. It's either a defense reaction that you're saving for a clutch moment, or it's like a piece that sets up your big swing turns. And so you have to be very thoughtful. But somebody like Riptide, who can jam stuff in and out of his arsenal all the time just by playing stuff, means that this could just be, a quality 0 for 6 to end a turn or something. And if he's already being defensive, the 3 block on it is also like a no harm, no foul. It's just a generically good card, and I'm a fan.
Yeah, I really wanted, when I read this, I'm like, damn, this would have been so much fucking fun in Briar. I would have had so much fun with this card in Briar.
Yeah, well, especially if you're talking like pre-errata Briar, there could have legitimately been scenarios where you could be like, I won block 9.
Well, yeah, or with this, in this case, it's like, okay, well, I'm sitting here on a channel mount turn, and this arsenal doesn't mean shit to me, so 0 for 9?
Right, like, it's just dumb. But I do, so I like that card. Number 4 on my list is not truly a generic. It's actually a cycle, but it's a cycle of specializations, and I just call them the Helms. I love like the Chapeau and Kasai's Hood and all the stuff that they sprinkled through this set, because a lot of those Helms, we're already talking about how good we all think Balance of Justice is, right? And that's also in comparison against cards like Crown of Providence and Arcanite Skullcap, right? The Helm piece from a generic standpoint has always been heavily contested. Tunic gets a lot of like airtime when people share their grievances about buying into the game, but the reality is the Helm slot has kind of had the real chokehold. This cycle of Helms, these are all playable. Like, I would argue that in some cases they are the choice you want to go with. Logan said he was going with the Kasai one over some of these amazing things, and so I just wanted to highlight. Betsy's Helm is fantastic.
Yeah, holy shit! That card is absolutely
the Chapeau.
Yeah, Chapeau.
Yeah, the pain. That's what it is. So the fact that those are like not just like, oh, it's an okay substitution. No, like legitimately playable and sometimes like 100% the right choice over these likely really expensive legendaries, I think is just a really good thing for the game. So I wanted to, give the flowers there, because they're all like I said, at a minimum playable, but they're also just really good.
Shout out to LSS for me going kind of above and beyond on making a lot of classes a lot more accessible. Like the fact that every single one of these probably could have been a Majestic, and I think they're all rares, right?
They're all rares.
Yeah. Like,
and the weapons too.
Yeah, like Betsy Chapeau is like could have easily been a majestic, maybe a legendary. Like that shit is 2-block temper with a class defining effect. Like that effect defines the hero more than her hero power does. And
I think of, so it's funny you mentioned the majestic or legendary thing. Like when I look at these, I think of like comparatively, they're on par with your Skeletas, your Crater Fists, your Courage of Bladeholds, right?
That's exactly what I had in mind. These feel at least on par with those very class defining majestics, and the fact that they're all rare is really impressive on LSS's part to say we are committed to make these classes, these cards that are very like defining for their class, more accessible. Also, it makes the sealed and draft environment a little bit better too. Like I have now played sealed with Betsy twice now with a Chapeau, and it is fantastic. It feels so good in sealed.
Chapeau.
Number 3 on my list is, again, it's technically a cycle. Now, this one's not a generic, so this is covering the classes that are in heavy hitters, but I really wanted to highlight the windups. I love the design of the windups. I think that all of them are very cool at enhancing what the classes already want to do, whether it's like discard effects in Brute or, you know, the fact that they're costed appropriately. So like some of the Guardian windups, you can still play in Bravo and dominate them, right? They're not necessarily a dead card, etc. But also one of the things that I think isn't talked about enough is they smooth out some of your bad hands where, like, if, you know, you have a low powered hand and you didn't necessarily want to block, you can set yourself up for value in the future. And specifically your turn 0 hands, there's a lot of potential there as well. We all know that, you know, turn 0, you a lot of times you want your opponent to attack into you so you can cycle out your bad cards, and then sometimes they make the right call and they don't, and then you're just stuck. And now, like, well, hey, I might discard 2 cards and come into the next turn with 2 new cards anyway and some power-ups. And as somebody who, again, I've played a lot of Guardian, that's been a pain point in Guardian, so much so that that's why you run cards sometimes like Showtime or Imposing Visage or whatever, because it's not that they help you during the game, but they make your turn 0s more manageable. And I think that the windups, yeah, they do a lot of things that the class wants, but also just that smoothing out, making it so that it feels like there's less non-turns. I know Rhinar is going to get a lot of attention, I think, in the near future, because when you intimidate your hand away, it feels bad. But outside of that, a lot of what this set has aimed to do, in my opinion, is make it so that players don't have turns where they feel like they're taking the turn off, right? Every turn is meaningful in some way, and I think the windups feed that. So that was my 3. Coercive Tendency, Balance of Justice, that was my number 2. We already talked about that. So Coercive Tendency is my number 1, which should be exactly 0 shocks because I'm an assassin guy. But also, if you haven't heard me talk about this card, go back and listen. I will just say that it is way better than it looks, and the only reason it's not getting talked about more is because Arachne has historically been underpowered.
It's a shitty class.
And I think people also don't understand what's important when you're piloting Arachne, but just trust me when I tell you that Coercive Tendency does everything that Arachne wants to do, full stop. Like there is not a better card you can put in your Arachne deck if you were starting him from scratch than Coercive Tendency now that this thing is live and printed. It's just that good. It is the tome. I mean, the problem is that Dromai was already powerful, right? But like Arachne, not. However, if he was, this would be his Tome of Imperial Flame. Like, it's that impactful when you do this as Arachne.
And then quickly, very strong.
It's not even just that it's strong. It's just that it allows him to exist as a class. It does the biggest. There's 2 biggest problems. So I can't say biggest, but there were 2 huge, right? You're competing for being number 1 issues when you're playing Arachne, which is you either don't have a payoff for your banishes outside of the silver, which is just like the grindy game plan. So I've long been saying that like there needs to be something where after you've done a bunch of banishing, maybe he has an attack where you get extra bonus damage based on either number of cards you've banished or types of cards in the banish zone. Like maybe he gets +1 for attacks, +1 for reactions, whatever, right? Like the idea is you banish and then he should get a payoff. But right now the banish outside of silver, not really there. But the other thing that he's drastically needed are ways to trigger his contracts even when he's blocked out. Because outside of attack reactions, and most of those are telegraphed, most people know what the important contracts are to block, and so they just block it out, and they have a backup plan, and Course of Tendency says, fuck your backup plan. I don't need to hit to trigger. I'm going to banish anyway, get my silver anyway, and get go again, and then play something else, and you blocked out this one, so you're less likely to block out the second. Like, it just does all the things he wants in a card. He has needed a card like this for a long time. So even if he's not in the meta, it doesn't matter. This card was a home run for what that class wanted. But real quick, my honorable mention, because I wanted to include it, is Lunging Press. It's a reprint, yes. I know. But Lunging Press, as somebody who has played Lunging Press in Bravo, as a haha, you didn't see that coming because nobody expects that in Guardian, I just have a deep-seated love and appreciation for Lunging Press, and I'm very happy that it is back in this set.
There's this one time I saw a MetaZoo player try to block out a Herald of Erudition, and then they Lunging Pressed it. And I laughed. It was great.
Yeah.
I love Lunging Press.
One time,
I love Lunging Press so much.
One time I watched somebody try to block out a Herald of Erudition, and I Art of Warred it.
Same thing.
Yeah. At least that's the yellow.
Card's just yellow Lunging Press.
I mean, it has other text. I didn't know if you knew that.
Does it though?
It
does. If you're unfamiliar, the text on it, Mara, is turn on your opponent's
balance
adjustment.
Balance.
Nah, we choose modes of +1 and block with Arsenal.
I mean, that's fair. I'm just saying, good. Like it's one of those, again, things where you don't really think about how good that balance of justice is until you're like, oh yeah, no, this is live in almost every matchup.
Yeah, no,
it's true.
It's very good.
It's my turn. Hooray for sports.
So that's all the time we have for the show today, folks. Thanks for tuning in.
You act like you run this show. You don't.
I basically do.
Hard pass.
Charmer, tell the man I run the show.
Hey, the executive producer says it's time.
We don't have an executive producer. We have a legal team.
It's not Lance Goodthrust.
He is one of the executive producers.
Valued member of the community.
We'll get to it. Valued member of the Patreon.
I don't think I've ever heard that name before. You'll have to.
We'll get to it. Yeah. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Card 5 for me is actually Cast Bones. So, couple of things. When this card happens, and I mean like happens, it's fucking stupid. And in KO, it kind of happens a lot.
I'm not gonna lie, Cast Bones almost made my list, but I felt weird putting both Cast Bones and No Fear because they're kind of the same
dichotomy,
sort of slot. And
so we did
No Fear over Cast Bones, but I think Cast Bones is very exciting.
Yeah, we didn't cover this one on the show yet. So the text on this one is it's a 0 cost red brute action block 3. Reveal the top 6 cards of your deck. Create a might token for each card with 6 or more power revealed this way. Put the revealed cards on top of your deck in a random order, which is, at least it's random for God's sakes. It's not divining top times a billion. And then if you control 6 or more might tokens, create an agility token. This is a problem. When you hit that might token threshold and then also create the agility token, because the next turn, the pop-offs are fucking stupid and have go again. Like, ouch. That's a lot. And I've seen some really absurd gameplay out of this card. I'm glad that Brute's on hits are largely still just death, because if they had relevant on hits, this would just be way too good.
Yeah.
As is, it's still very good. And the fact that you get some information when you do it, you can also just block out and leave this as the last card in your hand for a setup turn, and then be ready to take whatever they want to send you and not give a shit.
Yeah.
Because you're sending back more. Like, end of the day, it's more. So they're going to take whatever they're sending back plus a lot. So if it's not going to kill you, don't block. Just eat it and then wreck them.
You heard it here first, folks. Don't block.
No blocks. Blocking, math is for blockers, and here we did not complete math classes.
Nope.
But to the shock of no one, I like aggressive cards, and this one is aggressive. This is straight up. I am setting up because I want to kill you now, or kill you in very short order. So, what do you got? And that to me is just fun gameplay. That's just good old fashioned flesh and blood, like James White intended. That's all. My number 4. Now here's the problem. There's a lot of warrior cards in this set that are very good in Kasai, and we're about to talk about all of them. So number 4 for me is Shift the Tide of Battle. This is yellow, block 3, 0 cost attack reaction. When it's reacting into a target card, if it has power greater than its base, it gets go again for 0, which is what you want to do with your swords. And then if shit hits, you get agility token. That feels awesome. And especially in a deck where you want yellow ratios and you need impactful yellows. Like, this covers a lot of bases. And it feels really good.
Also, as a note, it does not say when that attack hits. It says if you are dealt damage at all.
At all. Right. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's the problem with Kasai a lot of times, and Mara talked about this, is the ratios. Mm-hmm. It's getting those numbers right. This one covers a yellow and a go again enabler, which are 2 key parts of that ratio that are things that a lot of times just aren't impactful. The yellow specifically, like finding enough yellows that you want to have in the deck is a challenge. You have some things that are just going to be there regardless in the yellow because of what they do. But this is a very specific example of something that you want to be playing. And that's very, very helpful. And it really makes the deck kind of hum in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. My number 3 is Standing Order. You already talked about it. Like, I wanted it in Briar. Mm-hmm. Moving on. Number 2 for me is Raisin Army. We talked about this as well. But again, such a cool card.
Also yellow.
Yeah, also yellow. Also blocks 3. And you usually just need 1 because just 1 will do the job.
I feel like if you ever resolve this for like 3 or 4, you just kind of win the game on the spot.
Yeah. So we found in like playing a lot of the times that even resolving 2 against Guardian is enough.
Yeah.
They have to either like ignore it and hope that they're dealing enough damage for you to care. And if you still have your fridge, you just don't.
Yeah.
Or they have to start attacking these and not your health, and you just get to kind of go with impunity, and they still have to leave enough back to pick off the second one, or else it's a problem. When you get to 3, the most I've done this for is 4, and my opponent just conceded.
Yeah.
They didn't even bother. They're just like, yeah, okay, we're dead. And it's like, that's what happens when you let me have 4 goddamn gold. You shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And I had even considered, like, the turn before that, I had a really yellow heavy hand, and I was just like, I guess I could pop one of these gold. And then I stopped and thought, and I'm like, wait a second. I haven't seen the third Raisin Army yet. And I'm almost through this deck. Oh no, we ain't popping any golds. We're just going to take whatever they're bringing. And I think that we're going to be able to kill them.
Yeah. No,
and that worked out. The card is just cuckoo nuts bananas. And I love it. Mm-hmm. It's fun as hell when it goes off. Sometimes you just don't. Sometimes you just use your gold tokens to draw to give your because it's just level with your saber attacks, and you're looking for something that pushes damage over.
Yeah.
And so you pop a gold to reduce the costs, and you don't play to the Raisin Army. I keep thinking Blood on Your Hands because it's kind of the same thing, where it's your game ender.
I feel like knowing when to use your gold for the draw and when to try and hold your gold for the Raisin Army is actually going to be like one of the most skill testing parts of Kasai, and one of the reasons that I'm very excited for the Hero.
It's very hard. Mm-hmm. Having played, we're pushing probably 40-50 games of Kasai at this point, but in lots of different variations. Mm-hmm. My favorite card, and not just because of the artist, but the artist helps, is Grains of Blood Spill. Okay. I have played a metric I played a lot of Kasai recently. Just kind of not caring about matchups, just seeing what the deck does, making ratio changes, things like that, like trying to not be results oriented because the results kind of don't matter. It's just figuring the deck out, right?
Yeah.
And the one card that has never moved from its slot is Grains. There is no Courage of Blade holding the deck.
Yeah.
Doesn't need it.
Grains feels so powerful.
It's so stupid because every single one of your attacks, the nakedest of Centauri Sabers, has an on hit. And those on hits allow you to block and feel fine with it because you're reducing the cost of the cards that are going to be left in your hand, so you don't need the pitch. So you can block with something that normally would have been something you needed for pitch and not care. It feels
like tectonic plating, where like
yes.
it just allows you this flexibility of moving resources between turns.
Yep, it's awesome.
Yeah, I think that is just an incredibly powerful ability.
Yeah, it feels so fucking good. Between this and Valiant Dynamos, you kind of just feel like a god sometimes. Because your chess piece is giving you resources back because you just have extras floating around from having blues or whatever, and then you just have a carrion husk. Because why wouldn't you have a carrion husk? It's just that your carrion husk doesn't have blood debt. It's even better. It's fantastic. But Grains is, again, as I've moved cards around the deck, I have not put another chess piece in that. A lot of people are playing Tunic because they, in certain matchups, want to be able to Tunic Shunt or whatever. And I'm just like, no. I'm just going to play the Grains. I get to block for 2 and then generate resources. And then in a pinch, block with it one more time when I need to. Card's great.
Yeah.
Straight up fan-fucking-tastic. This would be like, the reason I don't buy gold foils is because they're an earned prize, right? And I feel like buying the gold foil, like when you didn't win it, I guess in my thing, when I've won 0 of them, it changes like the way they feel. After I've won my first one, I'll probably just end up spending way too much money. But this is one I would consider just breaking that oath to have a gold foil one of these. Yeah, I know. But you've won one.
I've won several.
Hold on.
I have been 1 win away from winning quite a few.
Hold on. I've got to count Mara's gold foils here. So obviously the Pro Tour.
Yep.
You won a Pro Quest.
I have.
Battle Hardened, right?
Won 2 Pro Quests.
So you've won 3 total.
Yes.
Okay. Dagon does that in a weekend.
Yeah, I know. Dagon can close. I can't close. I'm aware.
Yeah, okay. Just making sure.
The worst one for me was during the Starvo season, during a ProQuest. I lost it was a very good match, but I lost a nail biter and a Starvo mirror. And then I watched my opponent open a gold foil Anothos, and I just wanted to die inside.
I've opened a gold foil Anothos. That was my first ever gold foil.
Same thing happened to me, Darick.
I traded that for like half my Prism deck.
But I lost to Dagon in that Starvo mirror, and so it was worse.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
I mean, he's good at the game. That part didn't feel bad. The feel bad was I wound up not qualifying for Lil on that, so you know.
Oh, well, tell Dagon to stop playing.
I
hear Dagon's getting back into MetaZoo. That's probably a thing.
No, absolutely not.
I definitely saw him make a post about MetaZoo today.
Because they shut down their Discord server.
I was going to say, it's not that he's getting back in, it's that he can't be banned from their Discord server anymore.
Right.
Because they're nuking it.
It's basically the same thing.
Yep. Last thing I want to talk about heavy hitters wise, or last 2 things. First off, we got the Fabled.
Did get the
Fabled. It is a landmark that is the Deathmatch Arena, which is interesting because if I remember correctly, this is the original name of Flesh and Blood was Deathmatch Arena.
That is factually true.
Oh, well, there we go. We did it. It's a 0 cost go again landmark. Heroes can attack any opposing hero. When a hero deals lethal damage to another hero, they create gold tokens equal to the number of heroes who started this game. Clearly a UPF card.
Not entirely. It has.
Go on.
It has all right. Yes.
Okay, it's a 0 cost. You can nuke a library. I get
that is relevant. It is 0 cost. You can nuke a library.
But
I don't know if it's going to see actual play for that, but it does actually do that.
Play some fucking yellows. But
I would rather play this in a lot of my decks as opposed to add yellows, Logan.
I mean, I play yellows, so it's fine. But
ooh, look at me. I'm a Prism main. I play yellows.
I'm a Warrior main, not a fucking Prism main.
That's not what I heard.
Dipshit. So what do we think about this approach of taking the Fabled, which historically, if you go back, has been the gems obviously are some of the more chase cards, specifically the original 3.
I was about to say, let's not get too hasty now.
Specifically the original 3. Blood of Drakai, Light of Soul, and Grandeur of Valahai are all gems, right? Yep. But reality, we're talking about Heart of Fyendal, Eye of Ophidia.
Plague and Master Cog are both also gems.
Cog's a fucking wheel.
It's still a gem. I don't know. It counts.
I don't know. But so they've been kind of dialing back the Fableds to be marginally playable for a while now, really since Corsham. Mm-hmm. How do we feel about them just like turning the corner and saying, yeah, UPF, we're cool. Here's this. We're just going to make this for our casual format.
Honestly, I'm super here for this. I think they made specifically the first 2 Fables, I think. Like Eye and Heart, and then I think somewhere around Arcanite Shard they realized they fucked up. Because like Eye and Heart are both very, very playable, very, very expensive, and kind of hard to get. There was definitely a point after Worlds, not this year but last year, when Michael Hamilton won with Icelander, that Heart of Fyendal went from like $150 to like $500 overnight. And a whole lot of people went, oh fuck, this card is actually important in what looks like the best deck in the meta. Mm-hmm. And that's not a place the Flesh and Blood really wants to be, especially when they're really trying to prove to people, hey, look, our game is accessible, our game is open, our game is available. And then you say, by the way, if you want to play that hero, there's a $500 card in your deck. And it's pretty fucking important for your deck. I think LSS has kind of realized since then, they're like, okay, we need to dial these way back. And they've kind of reached this point though where like the Fables are so dialed back that nobody's excited about Fables anymore. Like Master Cog got spoiled and everyone's just like, yep, okay, cool, and moved on. Like there was no excitement, there was no cheers, there was no nothing. It was just like, yep, that's a Fable. Okay, we're not gonna play this. And I think that's not really what they want out of the Fables. I think they want people to still be excited, and I think they want them to be these really cool things. And so I think making them something for the casual market, I think is like exactly that sweet spot. Nobody gives a shit that like you have a $500 card in your casual deck. Good for you. Neat. Go enjoy. Play your $500 card casual deck. Like that's fine. And doesn't impact anyone else's game in any negative way, but is still kind of a cool moment when, like, if you're going to play that UPF game and someone slams down a Deathmatch Arena and it has a big, powerful effect on the game and everybody's interested. The card is very pretty. The card is blingy. As far as we know, by the way, I don't think this has been mentioned anywhere. I don't think it comes in Rainbow Foil. I think it is only Cold Foil. We saw, I think, 4 opened in Queenstown, and every single one of them was cold foil. I think it is just meant to be exactly this one big, cool, very exciting, very pretty thing that probably isn't going to have a whole lot of effect on the constructed meta, and I think that's exactly where you want that card to be. So I think really good on LSS for this one. I think this is really well done.
All right, so I'm going to be the bad guy here, but I'd like to start by saying I think that there's actually a reason why it's only in cold foil, and it's because of the same concerns I'm about to share. Mm-hmm. And so by only doing it in cold foil, this leaves them the out to reintroduce this as a rainbow foil in the future. So here is my concern. Now, I want to start this also by prefacing that I don't think that this card will be a $500 card, not by any stretch of the imagination. However, it is a fable. It is rare. So let's just say it's moderately expensive anyway, right? Let's say it's $100. Okay. I like that it is not impactful for the competitive meta for all of the reasons Mara was talking about. I don't think that it's healthy for the game when cards that are seen as necessary, whether they are or not, is irrelevant. If they are seen as necessary to play a competitive deck, that's a problem. And I have said so in the past, and I still stand by that. Mm-hmm. But I also think that if you're going to say, okay, well, instead, let's just switch it to the casual market. Right now, LSS has, and I think very smartly and rightfully so, been doing things to try to include more casual players in the game, whether it's with the Round the Table product, printing some more UPF-friendly cards, talking about, future smaller releases. No details released, but it's come up in a couple of dev interviews that I was listening to recently. It's clear to me that is something that they want to get right. And so I would say that if you have a card like this, because when I saw this, I was like, this is really cool for UPF and for casual formats. I actually really like this card a lot, but I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of, if I am just the casual player or the multiplayer player or whatever, I'm also not going to feel really excited about still having to drop $100 to enjoy my casual format. Normally the casual format is like less expensive unless you want to bling your deck, right? That's usually like, and so for me, I still think to this day, the best fable they've done is the Command and Conquer. It's a card that's accessible through other means, but you're also really excited when you open it. The art on it was amazing. I think that was the best executed fable. Hurts me inside because it's literally the only one I don't own right now. That, Arknight Shard. I don't own Arknight Shard and CNC. Those are the only two that I own. And it hurts me inside that that's one of them, but I think that was them getting the fabled right. But here, I don't like just the idea of somebody saying, hey, we're not really into competitive, but there's a group of 4 or 5 of us that love to play Flesh and Blood because we like the mechanics and we want to do a casual thing. So we'd love a deathmatch arena. Now, yes, if it's just kitchen table stuff, you can always proxy it. No harm, no foul there. There are workarounds, but I don't think that like acquiring this should also feel like a chore if it's for the casual crowd. And so that brings me back to, while that is a concern of mine, them only doing this in cold foil does open up in the future the ability for them to print a rainbow or even just a non-foil version in some other future, round the table style set. If this becomes a hit and people start viewing it as like mandatory for that format, for example, then obviously they can reprint it and then people can come find the chase one and bling it out. But that was my concern. Like when I saw this, I was like, man, like if I was a casual player that just for whatever reason really loved UPF, like it's cool that you get a fable for your format, but it's also like kind of a shame that it's only available as the cold foil fable for me to support that.
Yeah. I don't play much casual. I've played what?
I'm very shocked.
Because I have time for that, but this card doesn't strike me as like a necessary game piece.
Yeah, that's about my me too. That I don't think it feels super mandatory in UPF.
So it's not mandatory. There's only one card in my opinion that is mandatory in UPF. Period, regardless of hero, and that's Garganian Tome.
Oh.
If you're not playing Garganian Tome, then you're doing it wrong because it's the most fun you can have in a group setting. Just full stop.
It's like Kindle.
I was prepared to shit on whatever card you said, but that actually sounds kind of fun. I like the idea of playing a game of roulette where everyone is mandatory playing Garganian Tome.
I am sure that you haven't seen the video, but I made a video about 5 ways to play multiplayer for Flesh and Blood, Mara, and one of my formats is what I call like the Rainbow Highlander. So it's again 40 card deck, right? So you have to run 13 reds, 13 yellows, 13 blues, all have to be unique names, and 1 Garganian Tome. Like that is the mandatory for that format because I think Garganian Tome is the most fun you can have in a group setting. So I don't think this card is mandatory, but I think that it's a lot more fun than it looks. And there are some heroes for their UPF play style, if you will, that I do think this card is mandatory for. I think this might be a hot take, but I think this is mandatory if you're playing Genus, and not for the reasons that you might think. I think that any time that your goal with your hero is to play Diplomat at the UPF table, the faster you can slap this down and start saying, okay, definitely not just the players left of or right of me. Like, you don't have to attack me anymore. You can attack whoever else. You can play politics the moment this hits the table. Mm-hmm. So there's just a lot of really cool things you can do with this card from a casual standpoint. And
I suspect you're actually going to see a lot of games.
I don't think it's going to be crazy expensive, and I don't think it's going to be prohibitive. And I think that in the future we'll probably get another version if it comes down to it. But there was just something where I was like, all you're doing now is like potentially saying, okay, we're not going to put the burden on the competitive folks, so let's put the burden on the casual folks. At the same time, we're trying to put an emphasis on attracting casual folks. Just give me more CNC stuff, but not CNC. Give me my fabled E-Strike. Give me my fabled Toma Final. You know what I would have loved it to be for this set? Like, honestly, I would have loved them to print a fabled cash-in. Like, give me a really cool full art
set.
Yeah, I think everybody was
genuinely shocked. Did you know cash-in is not in history pack?
I did, because I have been like eyeballing it, because I was like, man, with the set coming out, that's something I'm definitely interested in playing, and I couldn't find it.
I learned that literally last week, because I ran in the Celebrational, I ran Royal Fi and did not own cash-ins, and went trying to scour my collection to find cash-ins, and I was like, how the fuck do I not own a single cash-in? It's a rare, and I'm like, oh, it's from Crew. I didn't buy a lot of Crew, and it was not in history pack.
Got
I
crude.
own one for the exact same reason.
If you guys need some, I have probably 7, 8, 9, some number. Like,
yeah, I would like to cash in on that offer.
I could use a playset of them. I genuinely own 0 of that card, apparently. I think at one point, so like, I had a Kasai Blitz deck at one point, and I
Woman of Culture.
And I sold it to a friend because I just
longer have culture.
Yeah, no. I tried to play Warrior. This is like 2 years ago. I tried to play Warrior and just couldn't get my brain around it. So I ended up selling the whole deck to a good friend. And I think that was literally the only 2 cash-ins I've ever owned, and currently own no cash-ins now. I do borrow somebody's cash-ins for the Celebrational.
Beautiful.
I will say I also didn't open a lot of Crew, and every time I see even just the unlimited stuff like in stock, if I wasn't so destitute and broke right now, I would probably just buy a case, because I also just need the bulk. Like,
I got that for you too if you need it. Let's see if there's any sitting in this stack right now. There might be. I mean, hold on.
Yeah, if you want to bring me a set of cash-ins in Hartford, I will just buy them off you, because I feel like I should just own a playset of those.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's a playset in here. I think there's another playset elsewhere too. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Cool.
You're gonna be in Hartford, right?
Yeah, I'll be in Hartford.
Yeah.
But moving on to the last little piece of heavy hitters, we did a spoiler.
Woo!
We did it. We are on the board. It only took 107 weeks of straight content. We did get to my goal, even though I had to be an extortionist about it, of getting to 1,000 views on the video, which
that's a pretty good video.
You gotta set goals.
I got to watch Charmer suffer, and I think that's pretty much like.
So, because you were like doing really fun and amazing celebrational stuff, did you happen to catch the story of how we pieced that video together, Mara?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ!
So this is very fun to me anyway, because I kind of knew this was going to happen. Logan and I had talked about like ideas for doing a video loosely, and then we like did the cruise thing, which was its own thing. So needless to say,
I was very drunk a lot.
Yeah. I wasn't going to call people out.
I was super sad that I ended up skipping on the cruise, because it was literally like we'd be coming back like 3 days before I was supposed to leave for New Zealand, and I was like, yeah, I should probably not do.
Logan was plus EV on the drink package, and that's all I'll say on that. But
100%.
With that in mind, we didn't talk much beyond like we talked about initial concepts, and then we just didn't talk. And then we get to like literally 2 days or whatever before we're supposed to post it, and I get this idea, and I also just have an inkling. I'm like, all right, Logan hasn't mentioned anything, which means he's just decided to do it because that's just Logan. And I know based on our conversations that like he wanted to pitch something kind of like serious and gritty or whatever. And I was like, and that's great. I love that idea. But also, if we only did that, that's not very Flesh and Pod. So how do I add the comedy element? And then I had an idea and I started running with it. And then literally Logan messages me and he's like, hey, like we need to talk about the spoiler. And I was like, yeah, we do. And also I'm filming something for it right now. And he's like, wait, what? And I'm like, yep, don't just trust me. It'll work. So like I was doing my part before I'd even seen his and he had no idea that I was doing mine.
Yeah. What had happened was I was almost done with it. And I'm like, hey, I'm almost done with our spoiler video. He's like, oh, that's weird because I haven't started my part yet. I'm like, your part? What the fuck are you talking about? He's like, no, don't worry. It's fine. This is perfect. And I'm like, well, here's what I got so far. He's like, yep. Perfect. That's exactly what I thought you'd do. And I'm like, motherfucker, what are you doing? So
I was like, just trust me.
He's like, we record. And then I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, just, I got this. I'm like, okay. And so at 12:43 a.m., so 1:43 a.m. Charmer time, my phone goes off. Are you still awake? And I'm like, fucking regrettably. And he's just like, okay, I'm going to send you what I did. I'm like, all right. So I click on it and I watch it and I'm fucking laughing tears. Like I am actually just dying. And he sends me a, what did he say exactly? It was a meme of.
It was like a gif about being concerned because like 10 minutes had went by with no reply from Logan.
Yeah, it was level of concern meter in it concerned going towards panic. And I'm like, I'm crying, laughing. And he's like, I thought you were figuring out ways to kill me. I'm just like, no, this is fucking hilarious. Yeah. Hey. Yeah. No, it was brilliant. And we had just I learned a few things in like editing tricks, which is nice, that I will never incorporate into this show because that's a lot of effort and fuck that. But you know, for spoiler videos, it's helpful. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know. Have you ever met Greg? I think you've met Greg. Have you met Greg?
Yeah.
So if you like, Greg's voiceover work is just so good because he has that nice, like pleasing baritone that I'd like to jerk off to sometimes. And so him doing the narrating work, I literally sent it to him as just like text. And 7 minutes later, he's like, here, see if this sounds okay. I added some reverb because it sounded like an inner monologue. And I'm like, is that what inner monologues sound like? And and I listened to it. I'm like, oh yeah, perfect. So he knocked that out in like 7 minutes and sent it over to me, was able to lay it over, sent it to Charmer, and Charmer's like, yeah, perfect. I'm going to fuck with this now. And it just turned out to just be like the most Flesh and Pod thing you can possibly think of, with us making fun of our lack of communication, because
that too. And also, like, I really wish that I had the ability to, or the forethought, I guess I should say, to pre-record the other part to like include as part of a blooper video later, or even just to send to Logan or whatever, because the conversation that I had with my wife and the look on her face as I was like, so it started with, I was like, hey babe, I love you. She was like, okay, I love you too. I was like, and I appreciate you. She's like, okay. And I said, and I also appreciate that you are willing to support me doing really dumb shit. And she goes, and she like she puts her book down and then she sits up like, okay, what is it? And I was like, all right, I need you to help me film something for our spoiler video. And she was like, oh, okay, well, like, what's the big deal? And I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna need some help finding something to wrap around my waist. And then I start taking my shirt off and she was like, what are you doing? And I was like, well, it's fine. I have to go outside. And she was like, what? Like, you know how cold it is? And so if I would have filmed her reaction, it would have been fantastic. That's also why I included at the end, like, one of the takes where she's laughing because she's losing it. Because one of our neighbors drives by while we're filming and I'm just out there.
Oh my God.
And yeah, everything about that was fantastic.
It was a lot of fun. We'll talk about the card here shortly because Mara fucked up, but I tried. Last thing I want to talk about before we hit the listener questions. So it came to light yesterday or the day before. The Twitter discourse always fucks me up. That nationals the nationals are invite only. The invites will be based on RTN top 4, like they have been in the past, but then combined ELO to fill out the rest of the slots, and no XP invites. So this caused a bit of Twitter discourse, if you will. And so my take, I just flat out, we knew this was coming.
Yeah, I think I was very surprised that this was like a big like shock to people. I felt like this was pretty well like on the horizon. Like
I feel like
did not think this was surprising.
I think it was a year sooner than I thought it would be. I thought that this would be the last year that they did 90-day XP, and then next year would be straight up ELO. I also found it interesting, and I don't know if I read this wrong, because I don't know how to read sometimes, and every now and again I'm drunk. But it looked like you cannot redeem a PTI for US nationals.
I saw that too, and I'm not sure if that was a mistake or not, because that was definitely like odd that it would be specific to US nationals and nothing else. I don't know if that was just
it is the biggest.
It is. But then, like, you can redeem a PTA for Worlds, so, like...
Sure, but I think that 600-player cap that they have...
It's possible.
They want it to come strictly from RTNs and then ELO fill.
Sure.
And, okay, maybe.
Yeah.
So... So, yes.
It's possible, but it did feel a little odd. That was a little unusual. Although, like, I've always kind of felt like redeeming a PTI for Nationals always feels very, like, strange. Because, like, you're playing in Nationals, theoretically, because you want to qualify for Worlds. So, like, why redeem the PTI for Nationals when you could just redeem the PTI for Worlds?
Well, like, I know of instances that people have, like, gifted PTIs to their friends to play specifically at Nationals because they wanted their friend to come to Nationals or something.
Sure,
like,
that's fair. Like,
if you have that many to give, sure. But, like, in this case, like I said, I think it's a year earlier than I thought it would be. I thought that we would get one more year of XP invites, but
we already did get XP invites removed from everything else already,
except for LA. LA still has XP invites, correct? Yeah, Amsterdam is the first one that doesn't.
Correct. But like they did make that announcement like several months ago. So like the announcement that Nationals is just kind of joining every other event doesn't seem to particularly surprise me.
Yep. And so the one thing that I will say negative about this is that we still don't have the combined ELO and rankings on the website.
Yeah.
And that's a lot going into RTN season. We probably should know that ahead of time.
I feel like we're going to get it before RTN season. Like, I do agree. I think
don't have long.
I think it definitely should have been up by now, but I do at least kind of get the feeling that they're trying to get it up before RTN season. And hopefully we'll at least have that.
I think it would be nice to have that, Logan, but like my pushback would be just win. Like,
yeah, I know you were just gonna go with the just win, baby.
But I mean, like, that's the reality, right? Knowing where you are doesn't matter. Like, if I'm at the bottom, then I know that I need to just win. And if I'm at the top, then I probably know that already, right? Like, even though you might not know the rankings, like, if you're the kind of person who already thinks, like, hey, I'm probably, like, in the top whatever of ELO, probably pretty close, and you will likely still want to participate and play, but just be more guarded about your ELO or whatever. Like, I don't know, just win.
I'm gonna see how bad mine is right now, where I'm ranked in the US in these ELOs.
I used to be relatively decent, and then the last two events that I played in, I dumpstered both of mine. So
constructed is 1098 and limited is 667. Wow,
did you
I'm
say
fucking
1098?
Yeah, 109. Oh, I played in a bunch of events with meme decks during one of the constructed, like a bunch of battle hardens and shit.
My problem is that whenever there was something where, like, if you had to qualify, and if I've already qualified and there's still like 3 or 4 weeks in the season, I just switched to memes at that point. Jesus Christ. Like, I am not a good steward of
if I ever lose to you, it's going to be a war crime.
Yes, it will. You are correct.
Or when?
Oh, no, if definitely if.
Yeah, so basically I got to just play it, no more meme decking at, free battle hardens that I didn't pay for, because sometimes it was just that, it was like house money, it was a realm event or whatever. And I was just like, sleep of a meme, let's go. And then like, got dumpstered. Oh, well. And eventually, right before like last ProQuest season, I looked at my elo and it was like 1440. And I'm like, oof.
Ooh. So are we talking
bad.
When you said 1098, was that your global or country rank?
Country.
Oh, that's okay. Okay. That's your rank.
No, rank.
Jesus
No.
Christ, I thought that was your elo.
No, I'm over 1500. It's
okay. That's slightly better. That's not. I thought that was your fucking elo, and I was just like, how?
I think that's an actual impossible number.
I don't.
Like,
no, you can get that low if you try hard enough.
I think like if anyone can do it, Logan, I believe in you.
I appreciate that. But no.
I was curious. I'm a little behind you in constructed. My constructed country rank is 1171. And I have the same problem you do, Logan. My elo rating I thought was actually going to be way worse in limited, because I also have tanked. Like, I used to be far more respectable, and the last couple didn't go so well for me. But I'm 317 for country limited.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's better than I thought it was going to be. Anyway,
mine's like super in the toilet right now. I had a couple of callings that I did not do particularly well in.
Queenstown?
Yeah, that was limited at least. Yeah, I'm down to 1750 constructed.
Oh, down to, okay.
Yeah, no, I was over 1800 after Baltimore.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm 1750 in constructed and 1670 in limited.
Okay, but so yeah, I mean, just win. That's the message. Done here.
Just win.
Like, I know that I've done this to myself, and I know that if I now want to take it seriously, then I just need to win, right? Like, doesn't matter what my ranking is, it's not going to improve unless I win anyway. So just let the winning take care of itself. That's
this is
the
correct.
Mindset.
Let's go ahead and move on to listener questions, shall we? We're an hour and 36 minutes in, so we're doing our damnedest to just have a fucking 2-hour episode, I guess.
That's what you get for inviting me. You should know better than that by now.
I know, it wasn't my idea. First one is from Blaze Storm, valued member of the Patreon. Hey guys, once valued member Blaze Storm here. Just correct.
Still valued member. Excuse you.
So with the new cards for 3/4 of the classes from WTR, who will be the first to LL and who will be the last? So this is from the heavy hitters heroes. First to LL.
Wait, are we asking about the heavy hitters heroes or the WTR heroes?
No. I think this is the heavy hitters heroes, but I mean, let's do both. Okay. Who's the first WTR hero to LL?
It's got to be Bravo, right?
I would think so.
Yeah, Bravo feels like the most consistent of the WTR heroes.
Right.
Like, maybe not always the best, but like Bravo's that one that's just always perpetually kind of been there. Like, everyone else sort of like rises and falls with the metas, and Bravo's just always kind of just that steady plod.
And that's why my hot take is that it's going to be Reinar.
I'd have Reinar as last.
Yeah.
So
KO exists now, and KO is just gonna leech a bunch of Reinar's like market share.
Right.
Sure, but the thing is you're right. Bravo is just slow and steady, right? One of the reasons that I think I enjoy playing Bravo so much is I always say that Bravo is like the fairest. Like, he is if you're an NFL fan, right? He is the Andy Dalton scale of.
I definitely know what that is.
Yeah, but basically, like,
football's
he is your baseline. If you're less than Bravo, right? You're bad, and if you're above him, then like you're probably good or playable. And he's just always fair. He doesn't do anything necessarily outstanding, but he's never really bad either. He's just like your baseline for any given measurement, and so he's good enough that he will just, if things are uncertain or they're in a good place, like, he can be competitive, and so he'll always gain some points. But he's never going to be so good that, like, he has a Lexi breakout moment. He has, the Briar, the Icelander, where he's going to gain a bunch of points in a big chunk. I just don't see that for him. I think that both Rhinar and Dorinthia, to some extent, are close to, at any given point, being good enough that they could be like the next hot hero. Like I could totally envision a scenario where if Rhinar, like if somebody just like cracks Rhinar, he can make game states where you just take your opponent out of the game and then he wins a bunch and he would just pile up and contain too many wins to keep him out, right? So that's where I'm measuring. The only way that I think Bravo LLs before the other ones is if the other ones just don't get support first. And well, we just got a set that added a bunch of warrior and brute cards, so I'm hedging my bet.
Okay. Yeah, mine is still Bravo at the top, and then Rhinar is because KO's definitely taking shares off Rhinar. So, but here's the other part of this. So going to the heavy hitters issue or portion of the show, I think the first heavy hitters hero to LL is Goldim. I'm pretty sure it's
got to be Kasai.
It's Victor Trump.
I hate that guy.
Fuck that guy. What a piece of shit.
Dude, I got to see the art direction for Victor, and the art direction literally described him as the most punchable face, and Jesus Christ, the artist just...
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Fucking...
Step one.
I just want to punch that guy in the face so goddamn hard.
Does not hail from the region, but he strikes me as the kind of guy that wants to make Arya great again. He yearns for the times when old
He's
him...
Solanian. That's way more, like, on brand.
Well,
it was
sure,
it was the MAGA portion of it that he was going for there.
Yeah, no,
exactly.
So Solanian...
He yearns for a time when the old white man was dominant, and he wants to bring that style of gameplay back.
Make Solana great
you
again.
Incorrigible prick. Yeah, no. I think the last one to LL is Olympia. Like,
I'll be honest, I think Olympia might be slept on a little bit. I
think
Olympia is the least of the Warriors right now.
Least of the Warriors, but I was about to say I think he's my dark horse choice for LLing first because he's slept on, and like I said, I've been listening to some dev interviews and they were talking about like, yeah, he needs a payoff. Like the gold technically can be its own payoff, but like they also know that that's the missing piece, and it's mentioned that it's coming. And so right now, he doesn't look like that big of a threat, but I don't think any of the new heroes are enough that they're going to like LL in one season. And I think that if we get whatever the payoff is soon enough, Olympia could end up spiking a bunch of stuff.
I could see it.
Last little follow-up with this one was also a small follow-up. Logan, any tips on Dory from a seasoned Warrior player? I've been having a ton of fun with her in Blitz. I don't fucking know. I've never played Dory once in my life outside of draft.
Here's my secret Dory tip. Play Kasai.
Right. Just throw it away. Play Kasai. Unless you want to play Decimator Great Axe, and then you play Olympia.
But you can't play Kasai in Blitz except for the new Kasai.
You can. You play new
Kasai in Blitz.
Okay,
yeah.
But I actually I don't know. Maybe I'm weird. I actually still really like Dory. I think I might be biased. Like full disclosure, when we were in international waters, I was helping teach a new player to play the game. And I guided her to her first 2 victories ever, and it was piloting Dory. And even though like I was just like backseat helping her, I was like, oh yeah, I get it now. I like everything that Uber had said to me over like the last year or whatever about being like, you know, oh, Dory this, whatever. I was like, I get it now. It's actually like really fun and dynamic to navigate some of these. And
I do actually think Dory is a very reasonable hero. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely. I've never touched her.
Mm-hmm.
And that came out completely wrong.
This was my first foray. Well, like helping this player, so I wasn't going into it like an expert. I was just trying to be kind and like, oh, here's how you play the game. And then we started going through the stuff, and I was like, oh no, you don't want to do this, you want to do that, and then they're dead, right? Like...
and then they're dead. Next question. I'm gonna try to get through these as quickly as possible because Mara's dying.
What?
This one's from Not Dead Yet. Is from Big Lou. You've talked about it before, but which classes do you think will be featured in the draft sets the rest of the year? Any classes that you think work well together in a draft environment, and how long will we recycle class groupings or introduce new classes? So, do we get a new class this year?
Yeah, 100%. No question we're getting a new class. I think also I think we're getting so we've got like heavy hitters being our like very physical heavy.
Oh, we get the arcane set.
We're getting the arcane. I would put money on the arcane set, especially because like, you know, we talked about like getting a rehash of all the WTR heroes. We have now had kind of refreshes on all 4 WTR heroes, as well as Mechanologist and Ranger. That leaves Runeblade and Wizard from Arcane Rising as the only 2 classes that we haven't had a revisit yet. Guess what those 2 classes are? The Arcane Rising classes. I think we're going to see a set that's going to be Wizard, Runeblade, Illusionist. I'm calling it now.
Oh, nope.
Maybe
Necromancer.
Yeah. Maybe Necromancer.
Yep,
maybe
I was gonna say, Logan.
So like if we do 4 classes, I think it's Necromancer. I think if it's a 4-class set, it's Wizard, Runeblade, Illusionist, Necromancer. That's my call.
Logan knew what my answer was going to be because I have said it a few times now. But yeah, I think it'll be Wizard, Runeblade, and Necromancer.
Yeah.
Or they just give us a just Wizard set, kind of like the Mechanologist set.
I think they're probably not going to give us another single class set for a bit. I think that's like.
I hope not.
I think that's the thing that is like we're able to do this every now and then. I think every couple of years we'll get one, but I don't think it's a thing they're going to do frequently.
I have a new hot take. It's going to be Wizard, Runeblade, and Shapeshifter. And it'll be a new Shapeshifter that also allows you to include other class cards in the deck building stage, so that when you're drafting, you can draft like the Runeblade and the Wizard cards.
Oh, saucy!
That would be actually kind of interesting.
The cutoff hero, just cut both ways. Fuck them.
Like imagine a Shapeshifter Emperor where it's like you can use cards from any class, but they have to be yellows.
Yeah, it's
something like that. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, but I'm thinking like we could get another Shapeshifter at some point as well.
I could say
absolutely.
I think that'd be kind of sick.
Last question. This one's from Dom. What's your take on the correction to the ruling on your spoiler card, and how should Mara be punished for ruining this card for everyone? So, our card, Down But Not Out, is cracked. Or should I say,
was
cracked. Because the card reads, it's 3 cost. The red is 5 attack, then 4/3 for the rainbow. Block 3. And then when you attack with this, if you control less health than your opponent, less life than your opponent, and less tokens and equipment is the original interpretation and wording. So the tokens and equipment are 1 clause. This card gets +3 overpower on hit, create agility, vigor, might. Which is what the fuck? Okay.
Yeah, no, it was. I think I was literally in the Discord just decrying it as the best card in the set.
And then from the top rope came Josh Scott and Carol and Carlo saying, hold on, we made a change. Due to feedback, we are now making this 3 clauses. So you have to have less health, less tokens, and less equipment. Summarily making the card uncracked. But still limited good.
I do think the card is still very playable, especially in certain heroes. Because so like now it's that the token clause is the one that like you have to actively have fewer tokens than your opponent. Let's not forget there are tokens that are not necessarily beneficial tokens.
Blood rot, inertia, frailty,
frostbite,
yeah.
Being able to like give your opponent frostbites, and
Ash
then play
are
this
technically
on
tokens.
I'm very aware. Ash is absolutely a token. But like, yeah, being able like we don't have any ice heroes right now, but there is absolutely a looming threat of like an ice hero being able to be like, here's some frostbites, now fuck you, and play this card. I think the card is still very interesting.
The biggest issue is that it costs 3 instead of 2, but I've already been thinking about like, how do I run this in Assassin for Codex of Frailty? Because like the idea that you could Codex of Frailty to donate them their frailty token or whatever, and then come in.
You make a ponder, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the only problem with that is because of the ponder token. The ponder token kind of fucks you on it.
Kind of, but there's a number of ways that you can donate, like you're saying, right? Like blood rots and whatever that.
Yeah, and any of the other ways that you can give them blood rots or other other tokens, I think is certainly
allies are tokens. Spectral shields are tokens.
Yeah. Like, I think this card still has a lot of play. It's just not like ubiquitously the best blue that's ever been printed.
So you were on the ground when this was changed, and you played with it in its original form.
I did. It was cracked as fuck.
And then they changed it. How much of that change was from the feedback?
So I was talking with Josh Scott about this, and apparently there was actually some amount of miscommunication between like the development side and like the rules team when the card was first released. And he could probably explain all of that a little bit better than I do. But I think the current, like the way that I was understanding it from Josh, because we were talking about it, I think the current ruling was kind of the original intent. And then it got kind of through templating and it got through release, and then there was some kind of misunderstandings and some internal notes that didn't quite, like, they weren't quite clear, so that it kind of got presented in this other way. But apparently it's a little bit of like, I think it was supposed to be this way, and then because it kind of got out in the other form, they had initially been like, well, we've already made it, let's just run with it. And then everyone going, no, this card is really cracked this way, that they kind of had to go back and go, okay, no, the other way was how we kind of meant for it to be, and we need to kind of roll it back to that.
Yeah, you can't have this be Skull Clamp. Well, we made it. Let's just run with it.
Memory Jar, Skull Clamp. There's a lot of these. But we should probably Dustblade. But we really
made a mistake.
We do need to make sure that we go and have a discussion with the staff at the templating for LSS on cards, and describe to them that the Oxford comma is a very important tool in English, because without it, you crack a fucking card in half and make the single best blue that's ever been made.
Yeah.
Whoops. And then you give it to us to spoil, which is, what the fuck are you doing?
I mean, like, let's be real. There is no better card for this podcast to spoil than the most cracked shit ever. Then they go, nah, just kidding.
Yeah, just nerfing it. Yeah, that is 100%. First thing I thought of is like they literally are making it so we can't have nice things.
Yeah,
like it is just so fucking on brand that it's like, here you go, this is awesome, and it's like, holy shit, this is awesome. Oh no. Oh, sorry. That wasn't for you. We're just gonna go ahead and pull that back here. Okay, cool.
Good job.
I think that's our show.
Man, that was a short 1 hour tight show.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not. It never is. We're gonna thank some patrons though, real quick. Because this is the most important part of our show are the patrons. They are the ones that give us money. So let's just start with our associate producers. We have Alex, Andy, C-Dub, Cindra, close friend of yours. Donnie K, Jacob, Kenny, Larry, and the Salty Sea Cat. For our executive producers on up, we have Belaze Storm, a valued member of the Patreon. Dom, who is now officially the complaints department on Discord. However, the actual complaints department for Flesh and Blood is still Flesh and Pod is Flesh and Pod Legal, which is a subsidiary of Black Hole Legal, which is still the trash can next to Jordan Kennedy's desk. There's also the Lance Good Thrust. There it is. Is that what you wanted?
Sorry, I didn't. Could you give me one more time?
Lance Good Thrust.
You good?
Okay.
Right. No, sorry. Hold on. Lance Good Thrust.
There it is.
All right, that's pretty good.
Matt Two Tokes, Pox on us, Papa Mike, Philip, Rich, Taylor, and Trevor. If you're interested in becoming a patron of Flesh and Pod, you can go to patreon.com/fleshandpod. Link is in the show notes. We have 6 tiers. I think that's the right number. I'm still guessing to choose from. All paid tiers get you access to the FAP After Dark show. Mara, where can they find you?
You can find me at Blackwing Studio on Twitter, I've got a token shop on Etsy that is also Blackwing Studio. I sell custom tokens, original arts, all kinds of cool stuff like that. As well as I also have at Blackwing Studio on Patreon, where you can find my what is now a doctorate thesis on Dromai. I have I think it is up to 60 to 65 pages now, guide on how to play Dromai, as well as we've got a pretty kick-ass Discord community of our own. Shout out to everybody on the Court of the Drakai Discord. Also, my DMs are pretty much open anywhere, and I'm more than happy to just chat stupid card game crap with about anyone.
Perfect. Darick, where can they find you?
I believe the viewing is going to be scheduled for next
Oh, for
weekend.
Fuck's sake, will you stop?
All right, well, never mind. Where can they find you, Logan?
No, they can...
What?
You said stop. I follow directions.
One, that is fucking bullshit. You do not follow directions. And two, you know what I meant. Dad is
the Discord. I would just highly recommend the Flesh and Pod Discord is the best way. Like, yes, you can follow me on Twitter and YouTube and Twitch and literally just about anywhere you can find me. But the spiciest of stuff gets shared in our Discord.
Oh, it sure is. Like this Twitter feed that you can go click on right now.
I believe it.
Which is Charmer murdering a man.
It's what at Real Tan and Grace.
At
yeah. The
Tan and Grace.
If you're looking for the podcast, you can find it at FleshPod on Twitter. You can email us at fleshandpod@gmail.com. The best place for anything, including to find me, is just our Discord server. Mara's in there too. So
God help us all.
God help us all. And God bless us everyone.
No.
The other
that's a different podcast.
No, it really is. But yeah, the easiest things come into Discord. It's public. It's free to join. You don't have to be a member of the Patreon. Links in the show notes. You can just come on in. Water's warm-ish. We did get some really nice YouTube comments that came last week from somebody in, I believe, Singapore. That was basically like, how do you guys not have a bigger following? And I'm like, because I'm trash at promotion. That's the
promotion.
reason.
Yeah, that was promotion is the thing.
Oh, go fuck yourself.
I know.
See, that is top tier customer service. Most people will just ignore you, but we will tell you to go fuck yourself to your face.
Aww.
That's true.
That's why you guys
they ask why.
This is why Flesh and Pod is the best in the business. They're not afraid to tell you to go fuck yourself.
Go fuck yourself. That is absolutely correct. So
when should we put you down for your next spoiler? 2035?
I mean, yeah, probably. Well, I mean, okay. If we really think this through, we did take it seriously-ish and produced a very fun video that got eyeballs, which is really what they want, right? So why not just bring us back into the fold to do it again?
The next spoiler video, regardless of what it is, will be me trying to make a Lego video and then failing.
Oh, and Thundergun is going to hang dong.
And then, you got to hang dong. But...
You got to hang dong.
The spoiler videos are there to, attract attention to your channel. So, you guys probably just got a whole bunch of new viewers that are like, hey, I want to see what this Flesh and Pod thing is about. And we're just straight into go fuck yourself territory.
Yeah. We
stated we were bad at promotion. I don't know what you want from us.
Yeah, never been shy about who we are.
Welcome.
I don't think.
Welcome. If this is your first episode of Flesh and Pod, please post in the comments. Go fuck yourself.
Logan has seen in person people walk up and go, "Hey, I just wanted to tell you I really like the podcast and I appreciate what you do." And I'll go, "I'm sorry."
He does do that. It's great. It is amazing.
That says more about you than anything. I don't know.
I don't know. But yeah, with that, we're now at 2 hours, so might as well.
We're at 1 hour 57 minutes. I don't want to hear it. We're fine.
No, it's 158.50.
Oh.
And by the time I put intros and outros and all that kind of bullshit, you fucked the algorithm in the first 5 seconds. So
oh, did I?
Don't worry about that. Oh yeah, you sure did. So I don't have to worry about that part. We're still so far away from YouTube monetization that it doesn't actually matter. No one's like, we have a bunch of
mine
listeners.
Revoked.
Wow.
Yeah, it turns out you have to like post videos.
Shit?
Yeah. I mean, I can earn it back. I got an email. Yeah.
We hit every single metric except
the subscriber
metric.
So I hit every single metric except the watch time. The watch time is what killed me this time.
Yeah. All right. Well, we hit that one.
Well, go fucking see this thing, the button. There's where
the like and subscribe
that
thingy,
one,
the bell notification thingy.
Click that shit. If you're not, what the hell are you doing?
Or if you're listening on audio, go to YouTube and then click that shit.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, that's our show for this week. And you know what? Because for some fucking reason, I still refuse to take a goddamn break from this show. We'll see you next week. Bye.